Hey guys, it's Joe, John, and Justin with Tuning Tuesday, episode 25. We had a lot go on last week. I mean, we were at Shelby Fest the week before.
Right.
We had everything happen last week.
Yes, it was a very busy week.
So what happened for you after Shelby Fest? Because that's interesting to the nearest and dearest people to you.
You're talking about the sickness?
Yeah, the T-virus.
The T-virus? I don't know what Missouri. I'm from Missouri, and I had some illness that I lost my entire voice. And it's a weird thing when you're trying to speak and you can't actually convey what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. So I get home, I fly home, and my ear is just, I can't clear it. It can't Valsalva. Mm-hmm. And the next day I woke up, vertigo, complete and utter vertigo. I don't know if you guys ever had vertigo, but projectile vomit everywhere. And got put on steroids, and I'm still recovering. So if I pass out on the show, then you'll understand why. But
and he's got his puke bag shirt on.
I got my So they teach in the military that if you have to puke, write down the shirt. Nice. So they don't like to do that in the hospital, but the offer is always open to keep it clean. Oh, yeah. So, but I'm doing better. I had a good time at Shelby Fest, so thank you for inviting me up there. It was cool to be among my Shelby people, which are
singing the song of your people.
Or Shelby people are fun, interesting people. But I had a good time. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Anything interesting going on over in the sales support office there, John?
We're fielding a lot of calls and emails regarding upcoming Gen 3 for the Cobras. You guys just stay patient and bear with us. We are still several weeks out from that. It looks like it's going to be middle to the end of June, and we'll certainly let you know as soon as possible. But please feel free to email us or give us a call, sales@VMPPerformance.com, in any way that we can give you guys a hand. Or if you have a question about a tune, we'll do our best to get you taken care of.
Do you want to do the blue car now, or you want to push that a little bit later after a couple questions? I don't know what we got for questions coming in yet.
I think you can go ahead and do the blue car now.
Okay, so we being me and Justin, mainly Justin, worked on a car. I believe it was this past Saturday. He was working with one of our dealers to get
Justin.
The other Justin, Justin Starkey.
Yeah.
We'll go Young and Starkey.
It's weird being in the same room with him. It's like, Justin, I'm like, oh God.
He worked with one of our dealers that installed a Gen 3 supercharger on a car that previously had another supercharger. Car made some really good power. I don't know if you guys want to roll any type of video or pictures that you guys have on that car. Some of you guys may recognize this car. I know a few people that recognize this car when we made a post about guessing dyno numbers on the car. Car did very well with Gen 3 supercharger on it. Is the video that I see on your screen live right now, Chris?
Yes.
Okay. So here, it looks like you got the car sitting there on the dyno about to make a pole, or currently making a pole. I can't hear the audio, so I'll take a guess there and say that it's making a pole. The dealer that bought the blower through us and had it installed was Beefcake. The blower was installed at Finish Line Performance. The car's pulleyed for about 20 pounds of boost. You get the occasional ripple in the graph, 20 to 23. I don't know if they had the boost hooked up to the dirty air hose or if they had it directly in the port on the passenger side of the lower intake. But sometimes, just a heads up to people that don't know, if you put the boost connection into the port on a 5-liter, it's on like cylinder number 3. It has a little like 1/8 inch MPT port. If the sensor that you're using or the gauge that you're using is not kind of like buffered, you'll see a lot of ripples in the boost curve. Okay. And if you tee in for boost off of the dirty air hose that comes up from the back of the blower, you get a lot cleaner boost signal from that, because you don't get what I suspect to be the oscillations in pressure based on the valve opening in the port. But overall, the car did really good. It made 980 rear wheel horsepower through an auto and 760 rear wheel torque. The cams are locked in. They're comp stage 3s. VMP 160 throttle body, 69 millimeter upper pulley, and a 5% lower. All in all, a very basic setup in the grand scheme of Coyote stuff. But yeah, 980 rear wheel horsepower, 760 pound-feet of torque through an auto. So all in all, pretty sweet. The previous supercharger that was on it was being spun about 2,000 RPM higher, and we still made, I think it was within 20 horsepower of that old supercharger at less boost and less RPM. So race car stuff and Gen 3 stuff.
Adam Kelly says, dang VMP G3 for the win.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Is there anything else coming in terms of questions or anything like that?
Someone says, hey guys, I have a tuning question regarding my 09 GT500. I plan on running a ported 2.3 Gen 1 TBS with long tubes, JLT 123, VMP Twin 67, and mufflers. My question is, will my 56-pound injectors be enough with a pump booster and 2.5 upper, 10 lower?
The 10 lower is kind of the oddball in that configuration in terms of will it support it or not. You should be good on injector with that setup, but it's one of those things where I'd rather see a data log of it. If you're on a really cold day and you have some great air quality, you might be at the edge of the injector close to 92% duty cycle. But on any normal day of the week, a 2.5 and a 10%, you're probably going to be okay with 56s and a set of boosters. If you want to go E85, you'll have to put a fuel system in the car and swap out the injectors and whatnot. But all in all, she'll be good on that setup as it sits right now.
Chuck Carter had a comment for Justin, says, so how about that red tube out?
The secret car?
We don't talk about it.
That's Skunk Works.
Yeah, it's a reason why I have that GT500 built the way it is to keep my mind off the red car. So rule one, don't talk about the red car. Will it be badass? Yeah. Eventually.
Rule number one of Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club.
What's sad is I've had that car for 18 years, and there's people that know me as Mod Motor Mustangs and GT500, and they don't know.
They don't know about red car.
They don't know about the red car, and that infuriates me.
We got to get that squared away.
I know.
One day.
One day.
It's like Sasquatch.
Yeah. Very few. My wife's been in it twice. She's been in the car twice. Been married 11 years.
God.
So yeah, she hates that car.
We got to fix that.
We got to fix that, and everyone watching knows it. Yeah.
So your car was in here on the dyno. What was that, like 2-3 weeks ago now that we were doing all the dyno stuff with Gen 3 in your car?
Yep.
Maybe a little bit longer.
Yep.
Haven't really had a chance to drive the car yet. You've been tied up over on west coast of Florida, and we took it out to that event out in
I drove
Missouri.
2 blocks and at Shelby Fest, and it was awesome.
And it was not rolling burnouts for 2 blocks. It was.
Well, I was trying not to get VMP in trouble because the car kind of represented the company. But it was fun. It was a good car. Got a lot of attention. You know, did exactly what we want with the car. You know, makes a lot of power, and you know, helping good companies is kind of what I like to do.
And we like helping good peeps.
Chase said, will the red tube out be at Mod Nationals?
2019.
Now taking donations.
Yeah, no. I
To
mean,
get financially,
financially, it's not the issue. You know.
Chuck is asking, what's the future of Mod Nationals and Mod Motor Mustangs look like?
I hate Chuck. All right, so my friend Chuck works at SCT, awesome guy, and he helps me a lot with Mod Nationals. He's actually, if I were to sell the company or get rid of the company, he's the one that I would hand that over to. So he's a real good guy. I mean, the future has Chuck involved if that matters. But yeah, so the company in Mod Motor Mustangs is kind of stagnant. You know, trying to figure out what the next piece of the social media thing is. And the whole point of building the company was to give the Mod Motor overhead cam guys a voice. Because at the time when I built it in 2013, we had the fastest quarter-mile car compared to LS. Let's just use LS as a comparative. One of our cars was faster. We had a faster X275 car. We had a faster standing mile car and a half-mile car. And we had no voice on the internet. You know, and I would go in all these LS Nation, LS different groups.
The bow tie groups.
And defending it. And I was like, man, this is garbage. We should have our own voice. And so I created the social media, you know, of Mod Motor Mustangs, and it was a wild success, great thing. But I was like, what's next? People were like, well, you should sell parts. And I was like, well, I made so many friends that if I sell parts and I don't have any overhead, I don't have a brick and mortar, then I'm kind of competing now with all my friends who are trying to feed their families. So selling parts was never the next evolution. But then I thought, like, what aren't people doing? Promoting races is literally the worst thing in the world. That's why people don't do it. Collecting $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 in sponsorship money, and then having payouts, and then hosting the race at a racetrack and hoping the weather cooperates, and you're playing all year for a 3-day event. But that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's really, really hard. It takes a lot of time and money to make it happen, because you've got to front a lot of it, and then have companies buy into your product and give you money, gesture of good faith that you're gonna you're going to reap the benefits of having a big event or using the social media part of it. So that's the future is just build Mod Nationals. That's really it, and have maybe another event. So this would be the 3rd year of our race. If this year is, I would say the big thing is if I make my money back and then some, then the proof of concept is there. I would say maybe do a Florida-based one, maybe a Texas-based one, and just do kind of streetcar takeover. But this is my part-time thing. It's just really hard for me to do full-time. So it'd be a slow, maybe franchise it, have other people that have other great ideas, bring them on board, and empower them as long as I have oversight to kind of keep the culture.
Keep it at the core of what you
That's
made
right.
it for?
Because if someone owned what I have with Mod Motor Mustangs, they would sell out more than likely. They would schlep parts and undercut everyone and use it for evil. Whereas I want to bring everyone together and help people versus compete with people. So
Exactly.
Mod Motor Mustangs. I mean, I would say if Edelbrock or Holly wanted to buy me out one day, that might be worth it. It's just that's too far down the road. I'd say the future of Mod Motor Mustangs is just keep what we're doing, keep building the brand, and keep supporting good companies.
Keep bringing the people together.
That's it. And I really, it's something I really like to do. If I can help, I will. And it puts me in between a lot of people. But if you're a good person, you got a good company, then if I can help you, then I want to help you. And it's
James Meredith says yes for the Texas race.
I know. He brought that up to me last year, and I get it. It's a long drive for Texas. So that would be a good place to put it. But there's a lot of logistics with the track ownership. The track has to want the race. They have to be financially invested in the race. I learned that with Memphis. A little background for the people watching is I paid Memphis a lot of money, right? And so I got to keep the gate. I got to keep a lot of the money coming in, but they had no vested interest because they got their money. Whereas my deal with South Georgia is a partnership. So everything is half. So the race owner has as much at stake at the race as me. So he is constantly promoting the race. He's financially, invested in the race, so he cares. And that was a big part. So I'd say if I go to a Texas race, they'd have to be as financially, invested as me. And so that's a big thing, is finding the right partnership, to do it. And if anyone's watching, if you want to help me get into Texas and want to kind of take that role of helping me find Texas-based sponsors, and that's probably a big crux too, is trying to figure out who's going to help give me money, because we're going to have good payouts. We're going to have good racing, the best prep possible. There's some things I won't compromise on, and prep and safety and payouts. Reward the guys who are out there building the mod motor cars. Why am I going to pay out $1,000 when I can pay you $3,000 or $4,000? That's the best part of if it comes out of my bottom line, which it does, that's fine, because I'd rather reward people that keep the community going.
Innovating in
That's
the community.
That's right. And I love it. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of a Facebook race. You have different camps from all over the internet, that come together and race at my race and do different, and it's cool to have bragging rights. You have bragging rights for a whole year based on the same setup that everyone else has. So 2018 will be a pretty
fun year.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty good year. It's a lot of work. I'm not looking forward to it. Everyone's like, oh man, it's awesome. No, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress and a lot of personalities to deal with, and no matter what, I love racers, but you're everyone's problem solver. And that is the biggest problem that I have is trying to figure out how to solve problems, because I like helping people, but it puts a lot of weight on me. So
We have a couple questions coming in.
Okay.
Andy says that he's noticed a lot of issues with 18 intake manifolds throwing codes and having drivability issues. Would it be better to just lock out the IMRC full bolt-on with 18 intake manifold? Thanks and great show.
Whether or not you lock them out is entirely up to you. Codes are something that we're working on. I know that some other tuning companies, namely Lund, has figured out the code issue with the IMRC position sensor being a different scaling with the 18 manifold. We're working on having SET add the parameters to fix that issue. But as it sits right now, the handful of guys I've tuned with 18 manifolds don't really have any complaints about drivability or anything like that. So I don't know who you're currently tuned by. If you're currently tuned by us, I'd love to see a data log of specifically what your concern is, but run the IMRCs or don't. Just make sure you're with your tuner on that, and your tuner's good either way.
Peyton says, if staying NA and not using E85, will an injector upgrade be beneficial?
ish. If you want to spin 8,500 RPM, definitely do an injector. If you're sticking with a stock style manifold where power starts to fall off at like either 65, 6,700, or if you go GT350 manifold or 18 manifold and it starts to fall off at 70, right around 76, 77, then doing an injector upgrade isn't absolutely necessary, but if you're going to be spinning the 76, 7,700 RPM on E85, it is a good idea to have 47s in it, as opposed to the stock right around like a 38-pound injector. But if you're keeping the rev limiter low, the injector upgrade isn't absolutely necessary.
Jeff K says, I'm sure you guys get asked this all the time, but I have to ask. How far can I safely push my 14 GT horsepower-wise?
Everything is relative to the octane and the power adder. So if we're throwing out round numbers, I'll call it 630 on 93 on 10 to 11 pounds on our TVS. On a 15 to 17 car, 670 on 93 is what I consider to be the quote-unquote safe limit on a happy car with some good octane. And those are both manual numbers, not automatic. Automatic pull about 5-10% out of that, and you get to right around where you need to be.
So on another show, we had talked about or discussed possibly doing a intake manifold shootout. I think we're kind of in the process of that, but Peyton's asking, any ideas on the time frame?
I have no idea on time frame. I know Justin was kind of heading that stuff up about gathering all the manifolds, figuring out what car we're going to do it on and whatnot. So, is Justin going to be on Tuning Tuesday next week? And by Justin, I mean Starkey?
No.
Okay.
He will be out of town.
I'll try and get with him on that in the meantime and see what type of timeline he's budgeting or looking at for that.
We were discussing it previously. We're kind of in the beginning phases of determining that, so we can talk to him about that when he gets back in town.
Okay.
Definitely.
Tony says, shorty headers, 87 millimeter throttle body, Roush cold air intake, X-pipe, Boral exhaust. What tune do I use on a 1650 Coyote?
Any tune you want, as long as it's tuned for all the mods that are on your car. There's not really like a specific one.
No.
I need the street tune. Just get a tune for your octane and ride out.
Dorian wants an update on your truck, Joe.
My truck still needs suspension. I have all the, I'll put it nicely, I have all the stuff for my suspension at home. I got strut mounts, springs, and spring isolators so that I don't have to pull my current struts apart, and if I ever want to swap it back to stock struts and whatnot, I can just R&R strut assembly instead of having to put it in a wall-mounted strut compressor and pull it all apart and shit.
A little dangerous.
Exactly, especially with those F-150 springs. But essentially, I just have to get the suspension on it and get the tires and wheels ordered for it. I'm having trouble deciding between Status 22 by 9 gloss black 5-spoke wheels or the Hurst, I think it's a Hurst Stunner 20-inch wheel.
Gotcha.
It's like my tire choices are better in the 20s, and I like the way that the Status wheels look more, so I'm kind of torn. I haven't been able to decide which ones to go with.
You only need one set of tires, just find a tire you like to run in.
Yeah, well, the issue is I want street tires, and then when I want to go out and perform well on the track tires, so it's like, which street tires do I want?
Yeah.
Because I've been looking at the Hankook Ventus, like ST206 or whatever tires, and like a 275 45 20 for the 20s, and then make them in a 275 40 22 for the 22s, but long and convoluted. I'm still trying to figure out exactly which direction I want to go with the tires and wheels, but I have all the suspension stuff, so just got to get it put on.
Justin says, I need a good dyno to run here in upstate New York. Will VMP be in New York State anytime soon?
No, we will not.
No, we will not.
I think Carlisle is the closest we get to New York.
Yep.
Anthony says, how much for 15% OD ring for ATI balancer?
That is a sales and support related question,
So I
which
would
one of this young man's minions can help you out with that.
That is true.
So I would contact sales at VMPPerformance.com,
Yes,
and they will
please.
be able to get you that information.
Sweet.
Thank you, Carrie.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Levi wants to know, Joe, do I need any revisions if I did a T56 Magnum XL swap only?
What did he say, whether it's 11 to 14 or 15 to 17?
No.
Well, either way, your speedo and your cruise control aren't going to work properly without a revision for it. So, do you need one? No, the car will start, run, and drive without it. But do you need a speedometer and cruise control? If the answer to that question is yes, then yeah, you need a revision.
Randy made a comment. He says, no Mod Nationals has found a home and a weekend it can build on.
It's very key to have a consistent date and location to build a brand.
Levi came back, he said 15 to 17.
Yeah, so the wiring's pretty straightforward on that. The transmission will not affect your speedo, but it will affect your cruise control on a 15 to 17.
Joshua wants to know, will we have Mod Nationals West in the future?
Ooh, great question. I got asked that question last week. I mean, I would love to have it in the West Coast. So I lived in Vegas for 4 or 5 years. So I built a good relationship there, and there's a market, but you'd have to almost have the marketing reach of Holly to make it work. Like Holly, I'm not keep saying Holly, but they have the LS Fest West, and the marketing dollars that they put out is extensive compared to what I can put out to make it work.
Just the videos I've seen on LS Fest West, it looks like a very well put together event.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, but it would take a lot more money than I can afford right now. Now, I mean, just like anything else, when you build slowly. If you scale too fast, then it's going to fail. You know, I still haven't made the Mod Nationals East a success yet. It's still, I mean, it takes 5, 6, 7 years to get it where it's an established event. I mean, the first year, people said if you make money your first 5 years, you're doing a good job. And I didn't lose money the first year. Thank you to my sponsors. I didn't lose money the second year. Thank you to my sponsors. So hopefully we just keep going down that, so we actually make it an established race 5, 6, 7 years, and then we can get to the West Coast. But they're just, if you look at all the cities in the West Coast, they're so spread out. You know, and people are, I hate to talk bad about racers, but some guys are fair weather racers. They won't come if there's, you know, any sort of inclement weather or any sort of, issues with the car, you know, whereas you have more densely populated type of racer in the East Coast. So you can lose. We lost probably 50 racers just last year on last minute car failures, family issues, whatever, that we still had enough densely populated people in that area to support the race. We had 120-ish cars enter. If we had that same issue where we lost 50 or half the cars on the West Coast, it would be a failure. You know, so it's something I think about a lot, but we would have Texas first, but way before we have the West Coast. Texas would be our West Coast, and if
So
you can't make it to Texas,
you got to creep along there like the
Yeah,
Oregon Trail type stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of not failing, and West Coast would be a failure right now. It would take some time, but I'm
Eric says start an SBE class and have it sponsored by Stay Dry. And
Well played.
Tony says, do you do a Mod National in Columbus, Ohio?
So I'll tell you, for the North races, it's weather dependent. So the reason why Mod Nationals is in South Georgia, I mean, besides Ozzy being a partner of mine and doing it there, it doesn't compete with any races, right? So in November, besides Jason Miller race, which it's unfortunate it's a week after his race, I don't lose a lot of cars there. There's probably 4 or 5, 6 cars maybe that overlap that race. But if I do it in Ohio, I would have to force that to be a September, October race. You couldn't have a November race in Ohio, at least with guaranteed like weather on your side. You know, and I couldn't do it in the spring because it rains every other day in the spring. Spring races are really hard. I mean, Tyler Cross knows what he does with his race and Duck and with the spring races. It just takes a lot of
luck.
A lot of huevos, you know, to make it happen, you know, and then still sometimes it doesn't work out for their favor, but you basically have to eat that money. Yeah, you know, so those are big financial losses for those guys. They're established and they can overcome that. But for me to do a spring or a summer race in Ohio would compete with other races like NMRA. I would pull a lot of my cars from NMRA, and I would never want to compete with them like that. So it's kind of that trying to find a happy medium where, you know, eventually I may have to compete with them, but I mean, we're in such good standing that I will do everything possible not to have a race that racers have to choose between. That's not how I do it.
It's not a good look, as they say.
No, November, Veterans Day. I mean, I'd like to do it 1 week later, but Veterans Day is pretty cool in Georgia because I'm a veteran and we're going to have some pretty cool Veterans Day stuff. But, you know, compete with Jason Miller, the number of people we lose or we gain or whatever is very minimal compared to like NMRA and competing against those guys.
You're getting a number of like suggested sponsorship, like MMR
Yeah.
and others.
Yeah.
Just let you know. Daniel says, can you guys make a T56 Mag XL work on S550 GT with a tune, or do I need something else? Will the stock diff be okay, or do I need to change it?
Stock diff should be okay depending on how you drive the car and what tire it's on, what power adder it's on. We can make the tune work without Dakota Digital or a Speed Cal box or any happy stuff like that. Basically just convert it from a 3-wire to a 2-wire, make the appropriate tune changes, and you're done.
Nicholas says, I'm doing a 100 shot on my 5.0 auto with full exhaust and intake. What kind of power could I get?
All of it. Generally speaking, with nitrous, you're 100 horsepower. Like if you're jetted for 100 horsepower, you generally make 100 horsepower more at the tire. So take whatever you're making now, add 100 horsepower. That's what horsepower you could expect to be at.
Joseph says, what oil pump and crankshaft gears do you guys recommend for NA Coyote?
If you can get them, TSS. If not TSS, MMR.
TSS.
EM2K20 says, thoughts on E30?
Don't bother. E54 or above.
Adam says, Joe, if you had to choose between an 07 GT500, basically brand new, that's been in storage, or a 2012 Boss 302 with 30,000 miles, which would you choose?
That's tough.
Do you want it to be worth, I guess, value-wise, they're going to be similar.
It would be even.
I think that the Boss 302 will be more fun to drive than the 07 GT500. My personal opinion.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Now, if the Boss had a TR6060 in it and a little bit better rod, I know people are like, oh, it's a Boss engine, it's indestructible. It's not indestructible. If they put H-beams in it and a forged piston like the 0304 Cobra and a TR6060, I think that would have been the best car that Ford made in 12 and 13.
Yeah, that's a
It
good
would be. It
question.
would be unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Joe, I know, I think Carrie was telling me we have some questions out there. Can we discuss a little bit about different pulley sizes on the Gen 3 and the power levels of those pulleys a little bit?
I can do that on the next episode. I'd have to write down all the info that I have right now, run it all off the top of my head. I'm probably going to be a little inaccurate.
Okay.
So if we want to do that next episode, we can just plan for that, and I can get all the pulley sizes and horsepower set up.
Okay. Let's see here. Salvador says, is Justin's GT500 staying a half-mile car, or will he start drag racing 8 or quarter?
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, it's a half-mile car. I'd love to make it a drag car. It's one of those things that I played this game a long enough time with a stick car, and I'm very happy with having a half-mile car. It's just easier on parts. You know, I don't have an unlimited budget like people assume. So having a 4,100-pound, no caged, not cut up GT500 that makes 1,000 that can be driven anywhere and decently reliable is something I see value with. I have the car we don't talk about, and that's taught me a lot of lessons about making the car a drag car, trying to eke every tenth, 2 tenths. You know, it
Gets out of control really
gets
quick.
out of control. People ask me all the time, what are the goals of the car? I'm like, just to attend events and have fun. It's not a certain mile an hour necessarily or an ET. It's just, and I didn't build the car to max effort anything. You know, if I
So
went to
more
max
of like
effort.
an exhibition car or a recreational car than an exhibition
Yeah,
car.
I mean, I love my wife, and she's happy with the car because we can drive it. She sees where all the money we spend on it go. With drag cars are broken until you drive them. Once you get done racing them, they're broken because there's so much maintenance with it. You know, and with a stick car and 4,000 pounds, and I've just played that game long enough and let's go back to the whole point of why I built that car to go half mile. You know, Carroll Shelby built the car to go 202 mile an hour allegedly. I think it only did 198, but it was meant to go high speed. You know, I kind of took that to heart. That why would I not want to represent the Mustang community? I mean, I'm not trying to carry the whole community on his shoulders, but if I go race Corvette Z06s and all these Lamborghinis at the half mile race where they thrive and I represent the community good, that's kind of where, you know, you can build a quarter mile car, half mile car, or a quarter mile car, 8 mile car and be a dime a dozen. And those cars are amazing, but I see the work it goes in, the programs you need to build, and
And then the
Fortunately,
programs you need to maintain them.
I mean, yeah, fortunately I've seen like Triumph Speed Shop, JPC, I mean, to keep a car going down the track consistently, there's a lot of work that goes on, and I respect what they do and I see what they do, and I just know that
That's not for you.
it's not for me with this car. Now the red car, the car we don't talk about, that's what it's built for, and I'll have a program built for that, but to have two cars that do kind of the same thing is not
Redundant?
Yeah, for me it's not, and especially the GT500. I'm not a big homer on being a GT500 owner, but the car was built to, not be cut up. It's not, and I love Mark Dubers and Mark Marions and those guys that cut up the cars, because it's cool to see that, but I would never do that. Even putting a 4-point bolt-in cage is like a really hard thing for me to even think about. So
Question for Justin. Are you looking forward to racing Matt Coates' Falcon at Mod Nationals? And is the roll race class confirmed?
it's confirmed.
Did he bring?
100%.
Is he bringing his car?
Yeah.
Oh,
confirmed.
Matt.
It's confirmed.
Man.
So Carolina Speedworks stepped up to be the sponsor for that, which is huge. So we call it the non-driving
The
class,
NDMF class?
because I can't drive a stick for nothing, especially a 1,000 horsepower stick car. So I'll be out there racing at exhibition. I don't believe in racing and winning my own class. That doesn't make sense to me. But I'll be out there. I'll have the car, and we'll fly. But yeah,
Although-
Matt Coates is shipping his Falcon to Mod Nationals and I'm gonna steal it.
I need that in my life.
I'm gonna bang him on.
I've
the
had
head.
a hard-on for a Falcon for
Yeah.
about 10 years.
Matt's wild. If you guys have a chance to come to Mod Nationals, that would be the only reason. If you were to come for one agenda, meet Matt Coates, meet the Australian Mod Motor. He's the Mod Motor guy for Australia. He's got some wicked cool parts. I mean, the stuff he's creating is
He's got some good shit.
He's got some really cool things. So yes, we'll race and he'll get drug. Yeah, but I mean, everyone's got to lose to me.
There might be another white GT500 coming out there.
Grant's coming out? Yeah. So
Well, I'll ask him if he's coming, because if there's a stick shift race, Grant wants to be there.
So we have a driver mod class. So that's the other non-driving whatever, but it's a quarter mod class. So the fastest car doesn't win that class consistently. It's really hard to get down. I mean, as I know, it's hard to make a stick car go drag race. So I think the guy who won last year was he ran like an 880 or 890, but the fastest guy in the class was faster. Taylor Baker won, but Andrew was the faster car, but he just couldn't make it happen on the last pass. But we got some really, really fast cars out there, so there's a class for everybody.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Chuck says, where do you see the future of vehicle performance and tuning with the EPA restrictions getting so strict?
Electric is where I see it going eventually.
That's a great question.
John, not John, but John says, Justin, we're looking forward to another successful Mod Nationals.
John who?
John Pavia?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He lives down here.
He's so nice.
Yes, he's good people.
Lance says, what are your thoughts on the new 18 MT82 D4?
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay. Jason says, I have a 12 Boss with a TR6060 swap.
Good man.
Installed a Dakota digital box to correct speedo, but no cruise. Is there a tune to get the cruise control working?
Yeah. VMPPerformance. Just order it up, man. I'll probably have you take the Dakota digital box out, so sell that to someone that doesn't know.
He's so nice.
Hey Carrie, did we get anybody close on the blue car numbers on Facebook or Instagram?
I would have to go back and actually look at the numbers
Okay.
and see what everybody guessed. There were a number that were over, most were quite a bit under. So
Yeah, I saw one that was pretty close. I don't remember what his name was, but I spied it yesterday, and I'm like, ooh, he might win it.
So I have to go back and actually look at them and see who came closest to it, because I had it posted on both Instagram and on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And we had quite a few come in. I think we had about 30 on Facebook, and then even more so
I don't know why, but I'm thinking Bonzani is the last name.
is the last name.
Yeah, but you can look into that later. Is there any other questions or anything like that pouring through?
No, I think we're doing pretty good right now.
Okay.
Justin, Justin, I see you chiming in here, so a lot of these questions I don't even need to ask you because you can read
They're
them as
funny.
we go along.
People have jokes.
That's exactly it.
I could take it.
Tyler says I have a twin scroll 6766
Yeah, turbo.
precision blade 2-valve car. What pulley?
2-valve.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
What pulley would put me toward the 7-second pass?
This guy.
Wait a second.
Did you say pulley?
Yeah, pulley for his Precision 7677
Wait a
turbo.
second. I don't understand.
So what
I'm
he's
so
got is
confused.
a JT trim YSI
So he's got-
2200
he's got a
blower.
belt-driven turbo.
Yeah.
All right, got it. Jokes.
Yeah. I see what they
Comedians up today.
We
Yeah.
have lots of comedians.
Got a lot of comedians.
Jacob says Justin's the man. Took pictures of our license plates here in Vegas. Jacob Peterson.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've known Jacob for a long time. He
Couple
sold
days.
that car, unfortunately, I think.
Sad.
Yeah, I hate when life takes over. I get it.
Billy Brantley says, Justin, when are you gonna host a Ellis versus Coyote race it?
Well, we technically have that. It's called the Grudge Race. So it's invite only, 11 cars, $150 buy-in. You have to be confirmed by me just so the cars are kind of
Vetted.
vetted and being similar within, I would say, a half a second of each other. It's a grudge race, so we try not to get cars that have posted times, but sometimes we'll allow it. It really depends. So the first year we had Mod Nationals, we had a LS versus the world, whatever, Mod Motor versus the world race against LS, and like 1 or 2 cars showed up, and the way it was my fault because I said stock engine, stock block. Whatever, I made all those rules.
Stock sealed, as they say.
Well, it's just like, we know LS needs billet cranks and billet, blocks and all this stuff to compete, aftermarket stuff to compete with our stuff. And I kind of made it where they would never have a car that would compete against us. And so it was a failure, unfortunately. One of our guys won. I mean, it was a lesson learned for me to kind of open it up to everyone, kind of diversify the rules. So the grudge races, so 275 tire or 28, you must have wheels and stock body panels, just kind of keep it like a real car, but that's it. I think there's like 2 or 3 rules and that's it. So if you know anyone that wants to race, and I think it's a $3,000 payout, 11 cars, hat drawn, lane, flip for the lane, and last year Tim Oswalt won, which is a Mod Motor guy, but he's a bad dude. That dude's a bad guy. If you don't know anything about Tim Oswalt, I forget what his nickname is. Someone please correct me, but he's one of the fastest guys out there, and he'll be there this year going forward. So if you know anyone that wants to run Grudge 8th mile, have them get with me, get vetted, and then I'll add them to the pot. Right now we have 6 cars, so we need 5 more. All LS cars are welcome, more than welcome, because we want to make them look bad. So
Yeah.
I thought it would be interesting, most people know who you are, Joe, that are online, and most everybody knows who Justin is that's online. But a lot of people don't know who John is sitting in the corner.
That pretty young man over there.
Who's being quiet in the corner. John, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and who you are? You are in a number of our videos moving forward.
I am.
You are the voice that's kind of behind here these days. So if you kind of want to introduce yourself, who you are,
Sure.
what do you own?
Sure. My name is John Erber. I am the sales and support manager here at VMPPerformance. I am the guy who oversees that department. I have 4 individuals that work for me. We answer your emails and your phone calls, and hopefully we help you out in any way that we possibly can. I'm also very much an enthusiast. I've had several Mustangs. I currently have a 2004 Mistachrome Terminator.
Bow before him.
Jeremy.
The Unicorn, and hopefully sooner than later it'll be getting one of the new Gen 3s on it, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed I can make that happen. I've been here at VMP for just about a month now. Things are going well. I obviously also help out Carrie here in the media department doing videos, and on Tuning Tuesday I'm behind the camera asking the guys questions. So I hope that gives you a little bit more information about me. And
Where did you come from before you were at VMP?
Well, before I came to VMP, I worked at a Ford dealership for about 3.5 years. Also, my father owned an automotive shop for over 30 years, which I helped him run. So I do know the technical side of things. I can rebuild transmissions, do brakes, put head gaskets on, do all that kind of stuff. And I enjoy doing it from time to time. It just wasn't something that I wanted to do every day. So I enjoy being in the performance side of things, and so far it's been good, and I know it's only going to get better. So I'm glad to be here. So thanks for having me.
No problem, kids.
So speaking of 0304 Cobras, Gen 3, Nick Matthews says, I'll break the ice. Are there any test cars out with the 2650 on the 0304? If so, how are they running?
There are no test cars. The only blower we have on hand right now is a plastic one for test fit stuff.
It's true.
On another note, if we can squeeze it in, is there any way we can roll that video of Justin's car?
Yeah.
Justin Young's car, I should say. I got to clarify there because we have a black 1112 that is Justin Starkey's car, but we also have a white GT500. You want to talk about your car a little bit? You see it on the screen?
Just wanted to highlight some of the parts that we installed. We put the new DFX twin center force on there, the 265 blower. Made about 1,000 to the tire, and so very happy with the car. Believe it or not, I think we're going to do some more mods here in the next couple of weeks with it. Make some more boost, put some cooling modifications to it to help it achieve the cool, and IATs and keep the engine happy at the end of the half mile, and then some suspension tweaks. So I think we're almost there to where we're happy with it, but I think it's time to make just a little bit more power. But a big shout out to VMP for helping getting the car in here. A lot of people think that I'm heavily sponsored, and I wanted to kind of put it out there that I'm supported, and I have great partners. But I think I paid like $8,000 for VMP.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, people think that we just give stuff away and like.
That's right. I
really
try my best to support the people who support me. Center Force has been big for me. Stiflers.
Speaking of them, I felt the clutch in the car, pulling it on the dyno and doing the dyno runs when I was working with Lund on the remote tuning with it, and that clutch felt really good. My last experience with Center Force is the older DFXs and Cobras, and they were really grabby. And they worked fine, but they were really grabby. And this one, being that it's set up for a car that makes as much power as yours is, was really smooth in engagement, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, the goal with the car was basically my mom or my mother-in-law can hop in the car and drive it. And so driving at the last at Shelby Fest for the 2 blocks to the end point, it was nice. I would not say it felt like stock, because if you want stock,
leave it stock.
You should leave it stock, and it's a funny quote that I saw at JPC. If you want it stock, sound it stock, drive stock, you keep it stock. So it didn't feel stock, but it felt easy. It felt no drama. So I had this problem with the car that when I talk to companies, I'm like, hey, I need a clutch that can hold 4,000 pounds with 308 gears. That makes
and 1,000 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, all this torque, and they're like, So thankfully I have Center Force on my team. Again, I pay money for it. But they've been real supportive with their being able to R&D some of the stuff, expediting the shipping to me, cut me deals when they can. But if I didn't have Center Force, I'd have an automatic in the car. And I hate to say that, having a 630 in the car kind of is not what the point of the car is. To have a drag car is to have a street car. Have a street car that's a half mile car that I could take the wheels and brakes off and go road racing with it, and still has a front sway bar. So there's a lot of really good companies that help me out, and hopefully that video. I thought they did a really good job with that editing, the marketing people here. So
Chuck is asking, how was the install and fitment on the centerfold clutches?
I wasn't here for the install.
Yeah, that would be a mic-related question, but I briefly talked to him about that, and he said it all went in just fine. The clutch that came out of it looked good.
Yeah, I thought I smoked that clutch pretty good. It's 273 gears when the old gears were in there.
They're rough on first gear.
I mean, first gear went to 85 miles an hour, and so when I did a burnout one time, I did not spin the tires. I think I spun the clutch. Yeah, I spun the clutch because
Do you have a line lock in that car?
I do, but I've never had to use it. It's got 1,000 torque. I just dump the clutch and spin the tires and roll right through it. So
don't let your clutch company hear that; they'll want to kill you.
Yeah.
I have a line lock, but I don't use it.
Yeah, well, you live and learn, But I had to add another, 1,000, 2,000 horsepower just to get the car to spin with 273s. It's a stupid problem to have.
Yeah.
But when you do smoke the clutch on a burnout, it's embarrassing. And I am a non-driving. I'm no pride here. I can't drive.
Scott says, wanted to know if we had any updates on the 12 GT500.
We put headers in it. Justin's been working on the 160 millimeter throttle body and the 173 millimeter throttle body data on that. So it hasn't gone back on the dyno yet, but we'll put it back up on the dyno here soon.
Jeff wants to know, is there a big horsepower difference between high flow cats and an off-road H-pipe?
There's not a big horsepower difference. The thing with that is consistency. You don't have to allow the car to go into cat protection to keep the aftermarket cats alive. And you don't have to worry about an aftermarket cat failing if you don't have them. So power difference, negligible. The only thing it really does is make the car more consistent, pulling the cats out.
Comment for your tuning. Poor Boy says, it's crazy how people are so impressed with your power package tune and PMAS intake on my 13 GT 6-speed.
Nice.
They've never heard of you guys here in the Motor City, but they're super impressed with it.
Yeah, well, appreciate you giving people test drives or whatever you're doing out there that makes them like the product. And if you need anything, just holler at us, man.
Randy says E85 pump in my area at time reads E90 or above. Currently E85 tuned by VMP. Is there a percentage of E where it should not be put in the car?
There's not necessarily a percentage where it shouldn't be put in the car. There's a percentage difference. If you go down in ethanol content percentage and you're tuned for E85, not necessarily a bad thing, you're just going to be a little bit rich. If you're going up significantly in ethanol content, like say you're tuned for E54 and you put E55 in the car, then there's the potential for problems. So if you're tuned for E85 and you're putting E90 in the car, probably not the end of the world on an NA car. If you're tuned for E85 and you're putting pure ethanol in the car, get with me on a tune update. So I would say the percentage, it's more so a plus or minus. You can go +5 in ethanol content or as high as minus 30 in ethanol content on a tune for E85.
Peyton wants to know, and Peyton's a regular of ours, how long has Joe worked at VMP and where have you worked before?
I've been with VMP, I think it's almost 4 years now, or coming up on 4 years now. What I did at VMP before I was tuning was I was the tech here. I had a pretty extensive mechanical background. I took automotive all throughout high school. I worked in a shop until I was, age is catching up with me, until from like the time I was 18 to the time I was 24, 25, I was working in a shop. And I started working in a shop when I was 16, basically a month or two after I got my license. But I've been a dishwasher, a cleaner, tire tech, a GS tech, and a performance shop tech, and then a tuner.
John Pavia says, will there be a small blower class at Mod Nationals again?
Of course, of course. So the rules just got updated. I'm getting some flyers made right now. Oh, my ear. So the flyers are getting made now. So once the flyers are done, we're going to open up the event page. All the flyers we posted, all of the rules have already been updated, so you can check the website. We manipulated the weights a little bit. So this is revision 1. So we'll open up the dialogue on the event page. We'll get some feedback from the customers on where realistically the weights need to be. Some weights won't be attainable. You know, if you have an S197 car and you have a P1 SC on it, and at 3,200 pounds is probably not going to happen. So we just got to find a happy medium with the weights, but it definitely have a small blower class, one of my favorite classes. We do not discriminate against, you know, I still believe in since I run the page or the race, it's my rules, but the 2.9 Whipple, good. 265 TVS, good. Anything below that is considered a small blower. So no nitrous, just a straight blower. You know, as long as the weights are checked and the weights are within, obviously you're heavier than the min weight, then you can race. So it's it was a great class last year. I think there was a Michael Siborowski one last year with the red S197 TVS car.
I want to say it's a performance red car, like the bright red.
Yep, 890s, 9.0s, but dead consistent. He wasn't the fastest car out there, but you got to be consistent. You got to be able to go, you know.
Point A to point B every time.
That's right, and he did it, and he won, and I was so happy for him. And you know, you don't have to have the biggest blower in the world or the lightest car to make it happen. Just be consistent, have a good program, and that's where we go back to being able to go rounds. You can't go laps, can't go rounds, especially when you make it to semis. You're turning around the car within an hour or more, and so you have to be on your game to drain the tank, put the ice in, check your tune-ups, check your plugs, and be able to turn the car around and get back to the racetrack. You know, anyone can race twice a day.
Yeah.
You know, and do a good job, but can you do it when it matters. And that's that. I mean, again, the coolest part of my time there was the checks, the big floppy checks you get to take home and the cash. You know, so it'll be even better this year. I think so, especially with all the Whipple VMP stuff going on. I'm a big fan of kind of baiting that and getting people in there. So, you know,
We like to party.
yeah.
Instigator.
Hey, it's fun. You know.
Billy is asking Joe, what's VMP stance on killer chillers, and would VMP ever consider offering them with a blower package?
I've actually tried to talk Justin into offering killer chillers with blower packages. We're fine with killer chillers. If you want to run one, feel free. The tuning takes account for air temperature and IAT retard function or ACT retard function. So if your air temps are cooler, you'll be making more power. If your air temps get super hot, it pulls power out. So by whatever means you cool the air, good on you, man. Your car will just perform better.
Scott says, I just bought a plain Jane 18 Mustang GT. It doesn't have the different drive mode selections. Can the transmission be tuned to shift like a drag mode on a premium package cars?
I have not tried to do that yet. I wouldn't foresee it being too much of a problem as long as all the tables are there for me to modify everything properly in a car that doesn't have the switch for that mode.
Michael says, can someone explain in cold conditions E85 can run lean?
It's not necessarily that E85 runs lean inherently when it's cold. It's just that E85 when cold does not turn into a vapor. So liquid fuel does not burn, vapor does. So when a fuel is very cold natured or it doesn't evaporate as well when cold like E85, you can run into issues where it's lean on cold start, and it's not necessarily that the fuel makes it lean, it's just that the nature of the fuel not wanting to evaporate. You get a lot of what we call lost fuel during crank and during like the first, depending on how cold it is at startup, the first 30 seconds or the first minute, you have a lot of fuel that's going into the engine that's coming right back out the tailpipe because it wasn't atomized enough to actually be part of the actual burn. So as long as your tuner is getting good data on what the car is doing on cold start, it shouldn't be an issue for them to fix it as long as they know what they're doing.
David says, I have a 2012 GT500 fully built, ordering a Gen 3. What is the smallest pulley you recommend for 93? Have a 10% overdrive install.
Did he say he was thinking about ordering Gen 3 or Gen 2?
He said Gen 3.
Gen 3.
So the smallest pulley I recommend for 93 is an 88. If you
With a 10% overdrive.
oh,
Was it a
GT5.
3-inch one? 2.8.
Okay, so yeah, like a 3-inch or a 2, probably a 3-inch if you have a 10% lower.
Yeah, you're gonna make all the power.
Yep, every single bit of it.
I mean, he's got a fully built. I've seen fully built ones at 93, like 900 the tire. I just hate 93 octane by itself.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
I don't like using octane as a crutch.
Yeah.
In that I want to make 1,000 on pump gas. Well, then it sounds like you need an 18-liter
You
V8
need
with
a
twin
big block
turbos.
with twins, yeah. You'll make it on 87.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, has it considered methanol? You know, I'm a big fan of putting those into the intake. You know, pumping it under the blower. You know, not spraying methanol into the blower, but actually, it's another option.
Direct port methanol injection.
Yeah, I've been doing E85 for a long time, and I love it. If it's within 50 miles, I'm bringing 10 5-gallon jugs, and I'm filling up every week.
Exactly.
If I need to, but if you know, methanol into the intake might be a good way just to have that safety. But the pumps go bad.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
like
anti-93.
I like the octane to be in the fuel line.
Yeah.
I don't like to rely on outside sources for it. So in short, 3-inch upper pulley if you're running a 10% lower, if you're going to run 93 octane. If you want to throw higher octane fuel in it, sky's the limit, or at that point your bottom end's the limit.
Power by the hour says, Justin, if we find a way to turn the 10R80 into a 2-speed, can it compete in the 6R80 class at Mod Nationals? Asking for a friend.
Yeah. So per the rules, internal modifications are permitted. So if we did not permit clutches and everything else that could be modified in the trans, then we wouldn't be able to permit the 2R10, whatever the nomenclature would be for that.
The 4R100?
Yeah.
Or I guess that would be the 2R10?
The answer would be as long as it's not providing a vast performance advantage over the 6R or the 10R. I mean, let's say you put a 2-speed, 10 speed, whatever you want to call it, into a car and it goes at half a second faster than the field, then no, we're not going to allow it. But if there's parity and there's similar performance numbers, and I don't see why not, especially if you can be more consistent with racing. Because we want to innovate, we want to encourage innovation. We don't want to shed that. So yes, at this point, since it doesn't exist, absolutely. Now, if it goes a half a second faster,
We got problems.
then we may add weight. Like there's ways we can stifle the performance gains, but we have to get some clear data with it. So, but it is a 6R80, 10R80 class this year, with the caveat that we are allowing EcoBoost, which is a tough pill for me to swallow, into the class. Only class that's allowed EcoBoost is that class, because there are some really fast EcoBoosts that are going to be in the field. They won't necessarily maybe win, but they'll be there. They're going to be there. They're going to run real good, and so that's a big pill for me because it's not a V8 overhead cam car.
Not in your bones.
But gesture good faith, throwing it out there. Let's see how it goes. But yes, Frank, I'm assuming it's Frank. Yeah, we're gonna allow it until it provides either too much performance advantage, or we can either just add weight to compensate for that. So why not?
Cody says, will VMP be offering a blower, throttle body, and MAF combo for the 04 Cobra with the 2650?
Based on what we've done with 2300, I would imagine that we are, but I cannot speak as to absolutely it's already in the works type of thing, because we don't really have
We don't know
something
for sure
finite
yet.
in there yet.
No.
But this will probably be one of the first guys to get it.
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Neil says, stuck with only 91 octane. Do you recommend 91 and an additive every fill up to make up for 91 and long-term issues, boost stain, etc.?
Really depends on the setup. 91 in and of itself isn't really a problem. It's 91 and way too much boost that becomes a problem. So if you're 91 and you're naturally aspirated like 11 to 14 GT, no big deal. You just won't make as much power as a car on 93 will. If you want to make as much power as a car on 93, using an octane additive like Octanium or Torco works great. Just use it within reason. Don't go like 2 or 3 bottles of Torco to 1 tank of fuel.
Check your spark plugs.
Yeah, I was going to say they need to change their plugs every now and
It
then.
looks like gold.
Yeah, it does.
Slab Shack says, is there a ratio of horsepower loss due to % of humidity?
There's something that you can correlate to humidity, and that's one of the things that a Dynojet's atmospheric probe takes into account when it does the SAE, STD, or there's like a JSM correction factor, and it looks at humidity, baro, and temperature to change all the correction factors.
So Jeff says, will Rebecca's 2011 go onto the market when she starts running her new race car? Just curious how much a car of that caliber brings. Rebecca says remotely, because she's actually up in
She already
DC
responded.
Right now. Yeah, remotely
funny.
she says if she likes the offer, it'll be gone tomorrow. So there you go.
That's funny.
Chris says, I'm looking to supercharge my 17 GT 6-speed, dual-purpose car, daily and road course. Wanting to stay with 91 to 93 octane for daily, with some 96 to 100 added to the tank for road course purpose. Engine is stock long block, and I plan on keeping it that way, even if the engine is replaced. What supercharger kit from VMP do you recommend? Gen 2 or Gen 3, or the new 2600cc?
So that'd be our 2650, which would be the new
Gen 3.
Stage 3 kit that we're coming out with, or the new Gen 3 blower if you just buy the blower itself.
And he wants to know why the VMP supercharger specifically, especially for his wants and needs.
So a positive displacement or root style supercharger I'll preface this. If you're going to be road coursing the car, a Stage 2 or a Stage 3 kit is going to be your best bet because of the added cooling that you get with the Stage 2 or Stage 3 kit. You get a fan heat exchanger that's going to help you recover your intercooler fluid temps a lot more quickly than a non-fan heat exchanger. But in reference to what you need specifically, for what it sounds like you're wanting to do with a car, you could go with Gen 2 or Gen 3. The main benefit to Gen 3 would be that you could spin the blower even slower than Gen 2R and still create a similar power level at a lower blower RPM. But both blowers are going to make similar power on similar fuel with being pulleyed for similar boost. So you'll be within 30 horsepower of each other. It's more of a question of what fits into your budget better, more so than which one is better for me, because frankly, they'll both work fine.
That's it. Those are all the questions we have at this time.
What type of time we looking at?
We are looking at 2:34, so
Okay.
we're looking at the end of the show.
Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Is there anything you guys want to touch on before we sign off on the peeps? Anything coming up question related often in the sales support office this past week?
Not too much. Just again, we appreciate you guys being patient on your tunes and tune updates. Joe and Justin both are working feverishly on getting all that stuff done as quickly as possible. So please bear with us. We do appreciate it. Also, we do have Carlisle coming up at the beginning of June, first 3 days, the first through the third. And we still have spots open there on the schedule for installs and dyno tuning. So please get with us at sales at VMPPerformance and or give us a call and let us get you on the schedule if you wanted to get something done.
Carlisle's a big event. I didn't go when I
Yeah,
was up
huge.
north, but
I've never been, but I've heard it's gigantic.
It's massive. That's massive. So yeah.
So you gonna sell some T-shirts out there?
So, I hate
Slinging them
merch.
shirts?
I hate merch.
Nah, man.
We're gonna have a
Merch.
bunch of shirts, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm terrible at merch. So
We'll have to get you better at that.
yeah, I think the next thing for me is if there's a half mile that's coming up that I have the car ready for, and there's like people selling their tickets, last minute, then I'll probably hit that up and Mustang Week and other things coming up. But it should be a good summer.
Just come up with some catchy phrases for mod motor related stuff.
Yeah, I have
Like
a
what
few.
that text said do.
Yeah, right. Right.
So it looks like we were talking about closest guess on the Grabber Blue. Maybe Tom Pogue is what I'm seeing at 989.
There's some close ones.
Yeah.
So that's pretty close.
Yeah. Tom may have won.
Actually, it looks like Joe Desch also guessed 989.
Oh man.
These coyotes,
Are we
man.
fight to the death for winner?
Uh,
MXC Most Extreme Elimination Challenge style?
I know. So,
Throwback?
Like I said, I'll have to go back and look at all the answers. That's on Instagram alone.
Okay.
But yeah, we have some that are pretty close.
Sweet.
I think that's it, Gaul.
Okay. Well, I guess post any questions or anything like that you have on the YouTube page. I think that video is going to stay a bit more. The comments are staying live on YouTube now, right? They're not
Yes.
live, but they stay active after the video's over.
They do, sir.
Yeah, someone just asked the Gen 3 will deal with heat a little better than 2R, and I think it will.
Yeah.
Because you're not spinning it as hard.
Exactly. I think that's one of the biggest bonuses to the Gen 3 is that you're spinning the blower slower to make the same amount of power, so your charge temperature is going to be a lot cooler. And I think a lot of people overlook that.
Yeah, it was common sense for me to upgrade because obviously you get 4 or 5, 6 more pounds of boost, but you're also not getting the byproduct of the heat with it. So I mean, why would it? I mean, I played that game. Spin the shit out, out of something, and you're creating horsepower, but you're also creating heat, especially with half mile racing. Well, I got to do everything I can to keep that heat down. So
So when you're half mile racing, how long is your car at watt? Like 15 seconds?
15, 16 seconds.
That's crazy.
And I'm going through it probably a couple more seconds just to, pull the parachute and drive through it so the parachute catches. And so yeah, it's a long time. That's, if you're going to build a car for half mile, you need to make sure that it's built to sustain that load for that amount of time. And the gearing's important. A lot of GT500 guys don't realize that if you have to shift in the fifth, it's an overdrive. It just, these motors are expensive. So going back to the point of having an 07 to 09 GT500 or a Boss, I would choose a Boss because when you wreck a GT500, it's an expensive pill. I had a decent deal on my engine, and out the door it was like 16 grand. And that was with a perfectly working short block. So the motor was fine, or the block was fine, the crank was fine, the heads were fine. If you lose a rod, your piston is going through the head.
So
your
20
crank-
grand?
Oh,
minimum?
easy 20 grand,
Yeah.
and with the Boss, I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, if you wanted to put a Coyote in there and do it up and make it look like a road runner, then it's a lot financially more viable. That's what. Who's that guy, the orange GT500 that had the Coyote swap in it? It just makes a lot of sense. You know, you get a bigger power band for road racing, and if you lose it, you know, like I wouldn't have built my motor if I had a Coyote. I'd burn that bad boy down.
Yeah.
I'd burn it down. 950 horsepower, I lose a rod, no problem.
Yeah.
But a GT500,
It's like, ooh.
yeah.
You're not just sitting around.
No, it's a big pill to swallow. So, you know, just one of those things that heat kills. If you're going to go race at that, a lot of people don't realize when you have 1,000 horsepower or 900, 800 horsepower and you race it, maintenance. People forget about the plugs, the oil, you know, the little things in life that, you know, if it fails, it's not going to fail because of maintenance. It's, you know, it's going to let up the ghost because it let up the ghost, not because.
Well, people are spoiled these days. You don't have to do a lot to get a car to make 700-800 horsepower.
Yeah.
So it's
I see a lot of people buying GT500s, at least the 1314s, at, you know, a couple years when they get cheaper and blowing them up, not realizing that you can't, especially if it has 20, 30, 40,000 miles of hard miles on it.
Or the guys that buy the used car with 40,000 miles that the guy that sold it pulled the tune off of and left all the parts on.
The criminals. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I know a lot of people that do that, but I would never
And
do
it's
that.
like, to save $100?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
That's tough. You know, maintenance is key, and you know, a 5/8 block is. I think you can get a home hookup for like $4 grand just for the block. But if you don't get one, it's like $5 grand. Then the Cobra Jet crank, the Ford GT heads.
Yeah.
You could find a
That and the Ford GT heads back in 07 weren't bad.
No.
Now they are crazy to buy a set of those heads.
And the Coyote is so much. I hate, man, Coyotes are like ninja
It's
witchcraft. I don't fucking understand how they work.
It's a circle here. We keep coming back to
There's
Coyote.
there's like magic working in it. So, you know, but yeah, when you have a comparable engine that's half the price and readily available, I see a lot more Coyote swap GT500s coming out when these kids blow up their GT500, unfortunately. But they make power. That car made 820 horsepower on 13 pounds. Like,
and as all the internet critics will like to say, was that SAE? Yes, it was.
It's so stupid, and that makes so much power. And I'm like sitting there with a GT500 that's fully built, you know, which I hate that word, but I built that has 8 more pounds of beers that only makes 200 more horsepower. It's a lot. They're very efficient motors.
You're also making a ton of torque.
Oh yeah, but half that torque's unusable anyway. I mean, you're driven in my car, it's a crowd killer. You know, like the only thing safe is the road. I'd hit a tree, ditch. It's a lot of car to drive.
Could really go either way.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. You know, so. But I just wanted to put that in there with the whole heat and caveat. So.
All that stuffs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess with that, we'll leave it at that. I'll go get back to tuning stuff. You'll go do some sales support stuff, and Justin will continue his tour around the VMP ranch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I get the honor of seeing a lot of cool companies and then seeing behind the Willy Wonka chocolate factory.
And as we alluded in our conversation earlier, if you, a person watching, has a shop and you're good people and you want Justin to come visit you, just ask him to come visit you.
It's pretty simple. You know, I like supporting good people. If you're a good person and you get good products and you don't screw people over and you're not a jerk, then I'm 100% on your team. And I want to see you succeed because we need more better.
More innovators.
That's right. Not being a jerk is very important.
Yeah.
Just
don't be that guy.
Just be a good person, and I got your back.
Don't be that guy.
Period.
Also, guys and gals out there in La La Land, if you enjoy these shows and you enjoy us having guests on the shows, we're always open to suggestions and ideas. But please be sure to like and share the broadcast, please.
Yeah.
What she said.
The more you like and share, the more we're able to bring you more episodes each week.
And new, fun, exciting content.
That's right.
Yeah, like I said, we're always open to ideas and suggestions. You can send it to me via email. I can put my email down in the comments below. And that would be great.
Sweet.
Sounds good. Till next time.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Go do race car stuff.
Yep.
Always good to have good people.